Welcome back, folks. Today we're going to be taking a look at Milestone 2 for my Spires force. I'm joined again by Leo from Para Bellum. Nice firm start with some clones and massive brute drones. But where are we going to take my force from here?
So, last time you told me a little bit, about how you're going to be fighting against Warren's 100 Kingdoms and overall. So,
Yeah.
as I told you, next time we would talk about the Spires. I would tell you a little bit about all the cool new rules and stuff we're going to be adding to help you, get an edge against all the spell casting and the enemy characters. So now, for Milestone 2, we're going to be adding a character and 2 new regiments, right? So the first thing we're going to be doing is that we're going to be going for a Mimetic Assassin. Which essentially, a Mimetic Assassin is one of the, personally, it's one of my favorite kind of characters because it's not really a character. It's more of a clone created and specifically designed to conceal itself until it's time to strike at an enemy character. It's a mimetic being because, of course, all the blades you see coming out can retract and it can look like a drone, especially if it's cloaked. Sometimes it looks enough like a human form to not realize it's coming before it's too late.
Yeah.
And assassins, because it's there with a very singular purpose, right? Yeah. My way of saying he's the clone torpedo. That's how I like to call him. He just goes somewhere and makes sure that this thing just is removed from play.
It's a good way to use him. I wholeheartedly respect that method. Just fire and forget, I think.
Yeah, well, your opponent is not going to forget for sure. Trust me, they're going to put a lot of effort into trying to remove the mimetic. So right here, then we have the Force-Grown Drones. Now, the Force-Grown Drones is an all-around very useful unit for the Spires. And even though they're not particularly good at fighting, right, and they can dive quite easily, they have a defense of 1. They have the seal that gives them a defense of 2, but they only have a clash of 1. Right, so overall they're not as tough as the clones, but they fill out a purpose, and that is they're there to screen your opponent. They're there to be used as a resource, as an expendable anvil. There are a lot of ways to approach them, and of course sometimes they can even become dangerous when you put the right buffs into them. Of course, at the expense of maybe them getting decay and so on. And we're going to see how that happens later on. And then we're going to be adding the marksman clones. Now, marksman clones, once again, they're clones, so we're talking about elite troops. You'll notice that they have this unique mutation that have a 3rd arm. Essentially, they're designed to be able to reload as they're letting an arrow go. So by the time the arrow has gone, they're already ready to draw their bow again and fire again. So they're all about long-ranged, high rate firepower support, right? They're more expensive in points, so they're 165 points. You'll notice that, for example, Warren can get Militia Bowman for up to 75 to 85 points, really depending on the upgrades. Or you'll notice, for example, that the Dwegum can bring Ballistae, that they're tougher in armor. Yep. But these guys can throw out so many shots over such distances that they can really become, quite a threat when they're allowed to sustain fire,
It's like bringing a machine gun to a fantasy game.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And the other very interesting rule is that they have arcing fire. Now, arcing fire allows you to ignore one friendly regiment, right, when determining line of sight. Ooh. But what's even most important with them is that they're a medium regiment, right? And so what that means is that they can come in at the point that your enemy is advancing with their lighter regiments, and they can really do a lot of damage in defense of 1 and defense of 2 regiments. They're not as effective against high armored medium regiments, let's say the Dwegum Warriors. Yeah. But at some point you're firing so many shots that you're bound to do damage.
Chip Chip away at them from a distance.
Yeah.
Hope their tiny little stubby legs won't be able to reach me.
Sometimes, it's just the 2 extra models before the regiment gets broken. Sometimes it's just this little bit of extra damage that really changes the game.
Sure.
So when it comes to the actual army list, we're going to be adding a new warband, right? Mm-hmm. Which is going to be led by Mimetic Assassin, and we're gonna change. We're gonna shuffle some regiments around. Okay. So the first thing we're gonna do is that we're gonna deselect the High Clone Executor. So right now we have there, no, just on the button to the left of the name that is highlighted.
All right.
So when we click that, you'll notice that we can once again choose characters from the left. Now that's because we're not adding anything to a warband, but right now we're starting up a new warband.
A new one. Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and add a Mimetic Assassin, and then we're going to activate the Mimetic Assassin warband and add Vanguard clones to it. Now the reason we're adding Vanguard clones is because we're going to be moving a Vanguard clone regiment from the High Clone Executor, right? Okay. So now we're going to delete one of the regiments in the High Clones Executor warband, and we're going to go back and select the High Clones Executor's warband and add the Marksman clones and a small regiment of Force-Grown drones, which is second from the top. Second from the top as you were. There you go. Perfect. So right now it says we've exceeded the available points because you can always edit the points. If you notice underneath the name, there's a button to edit. Now at any point you may choose a different name or a different points limit. That's fine. So for example, here we're about at 900 points. Like we said last time, don't worry about hitting it on the nose. Right now the games are for us to learn the rules, for us to understand the tactics. So don't worry about it. The games are still balanced. You're still going to have fun. We're there, to just understand the rules at this point. So a little bit about why we built the list like this. Mm-hmm. Now, Mimetic Assassin has the ability, and we're going to see it how it develops later on, to come with a regiment from the flanks, and they can choose when they come in the game, right? Because if you click on the Mimetic Assassin's name, just click on it, you'll notice all the rules to the right.
Yeah.
And one of the special rules is flank. Now, flank, of course, is a big help with your reinforcements, because the key here is to allow the regiment of Vanguard clones that you're going to be attaching the assassin in to come just at the right time and where you need it to engage an enemy character in a duel. Now you'll notice one of the other special rules you have is, first of all, flurry. That means you get to reroll your attacks, and you have 6 of them. And the other rule is Quicksilver Strike. Now, usually during a duel, characters hit each other at the same time. However, if you have Quicksilver Strike, you get to hit first, and that's very important, especially when we start adding different rules to the Mimetic Assassin, like we said before, like Venom that does double damage essentially.
Sure.
That's absolutely insane. And your opponent now has pretty much the choice of either accepting the duel and potentially losing their character, or declining the duel, and that means that their regiment becomes broken. And that's very important, because if a regiment is broken and then gets broken again by attacks in combat, shooting, whatever it is, they get shattered and you destroy the entire regiment.
Just ideal, really.
So that's the Mimetic. This kind of setup is very dangerous for characters in regiments, because essentially you're forcing your opponent to either sacrifice a character or possibly risk losing the entire regiment, and because especially when the assassin is attached to such a strong regiment like the clones. Mm-hmm. Now, on the other hand, you are putting your character in an expensive regiment, and you are investing quite a bit of points to charge right in the thick of your opponent's army. So there's plenty of opportunities to get flanked. But sometimes, if there's a particular strong character, some very good spellcaster, sometimes it's really worth it. to go
when
for
you've
it.
got something like the flank ability, presumably it doesn't always have to be used. It's just an additional tool in your toolbox that you can bring out. So depending on how the game is playing out on the tabletop, you may bring them on just as regular reinforcements from the rear, rather than almost sacrificing them if your opponent knows they're coming and is set up defensively. You don't have to use the flank ability.
Yeah, and we have for those that really want to learn a little bit more, for the more advanced players, we have a really good guide on how to play the Mimetic Assassin. You can check our website. It goes, and also the Vanguard clones. We have developed a lot of rules and a lot of synergies there, and especially about the Mimetic Assassin. There are all these different builds you can follow, and all these different ways you can utilize the character and try out all these different techniques. The Mimetic Assassin with 6 attacks and all these different rules is really good at even taking out a lot of enemies. For example, right now we're looking at the clone, Vanguard clone, and Vanguard clone infiltrator guide, and then we have another one for the assassin. So it really comes down to how you like to play your Mimetic Assassin. Personally, it's one of my favorite characters. So versatile, capable of dealing with all these different threats, and for me, it's a must for a Spires list.
Yeah, I think it sounds like it's right up my alley. And knowing how much some of my opponents really enjoy their characters, just putting the fear into them, just knowing that somewhere out in the battlefield will be a flag-waving nobleman from the 100 Kingdoms waiting to get a drone in the face, and I'm quite willing to supply that drone. So yeah,
perfect.
It's a delightful little cherry on top that hopefully he won't be expecting. He'll see it the first time. He may plan for it in subsequent games, I suspect, but that initial launch at him will probably catch him off guard.
Well, that's gonna be very great. It's gonna be great. I mean, yeah, it's even when your opponent is expecting it against a more experienced player, it's still the threat of what can come out of this character that will make your opponent really play more defensively, and be a lot more careful on how they expand their flanks. And so that's it's just sometimes just the threat of something can be as good as doing it.
Fantastic. I can't wait to get my hands on him and get him on the gaming table. So thank you very much, Leo. I'd better get to building, I suppose, and get ready for milestone number 3.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.